Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hi. So today I would like to explain to you all about conditional sentence. I hope for the 10th graders as well as the 11th graders, all of you guys can learn through this video easily. So, the conditional sentence that I would like to discuss deeply here is conditional sentence type 1, 2, and 3. But then, actually, there are 4 types of conditional sentence plus the zero conditional. Well, when we are talking about grammar, what you need to know basically are 2. The first one is the pattern, and the second one is the function. Of course, as a language learner, we need to know how the language pattern is. If we do not know the pattern, it will be hard for us to apply the language itself. Here, for conditional sentence type 1, 2, and 3, you can see the pattern. There are 2 clauses inside the conditional sentence. The first clause is called if clause, and the second clause is called the main clause. You can guys see there, for the type 1, easily we use everything in the basic format, that is verb 1, and also modal 1 and verb 1. And for the type 2, we use the past form or the verb to, and we go with the past modal, that is would, but it is followed by verb 1, as all of the modal is basically followed by verb 1. And then we have type 3, that the pattern is had, verb 3, and also would have, verb 3. It's pretty easy if we notice all the differences are in the verb. But then maybe some of you ask, what is verb? In Bahasa, we know verb as kata kerja. Or we can also say that a verb is the predicate of the sentence. For the type 1, we know that we use verb 1. It means it uses simple present tense. Let's make an example. There you can read, I submit my work. I am diligent. There, the verb of the sentence for sentence 1 is submit. And for the second sentence, the verb is am diligent. Miss, don't you think that diligent is adjective? Yeah, sure. Diligent belongs to adjective. But to make it a verb as the predicate in the sentence, there comes to be, that is am. So the existence of am there makes the predicate as if it is a verb. So that's why when you use verb, you do not need to add to be, but then if you want to use other than verb like adjective, adverb, and noun, you need to add be or to be to make it as if it's functioning as a verb in the sentence. So now, let's discuss what is the basic be for each tense. For type 1, we have verb 1. It means it uses simple present tense. If we want to add the be, we can simply use am, is, are. And it will depend on the subject. For type 2, we have verb to, which means it is past tense, something which happened in the past. And here is the special case. You know guys that the be or to be for past tense are usually was and were. But here it is really unique. In conditional sentence, we do not need was for the be for past tense. So we only use were. And then for the type 3, we have had, followed by verb 3. Remember, verb 3 cannot stand alone. It needs had or has or have. But here we use the past perfect. Why, miss? We use past perfect because this happened in the past. For the had itself, if we want to add be, the be or the to be for had is been. So instead of saying had be cute, you need to say had been cute. Okay, we will have a review. For the type 1, the to be used is am, are. For type 2, the to be used only were. For type 3, the to be used been. That's for the if clause. What about the main clause? For the main clause, will and would are modal. The be for all of the modals is be. So, I will be, it would be. You can just simply add be. But then, for the main clause in type 3, you need to add been because there's have been. Okay, we already know about the pattern. So, miss, when should we use conditional type 1, 2, and 3? The difference is pretty simple. When we're talking about conditional type 1, it means the condition or the situation is possibly to happen. So there's still a possibility that follows your if clause. Okay, so here is the context. You are talking with your teacher, and then your teacher says, if you submit your work on time, you will get B at least. It is still possible for you to submit your work on time, and it is still possible for you to get B at least for your score if later on you submit the assignment on time. But then for type 2 and type 3, the sentence, if you submitted your work on time, you would get B at least. The condition for type 2 and type 3 almost the same. It is unreal. You are imagining something to happen to your life. The difference is when you wish it happened. For the type 2, you imagine that this condition in your if clause happened at the moment you speak. But then, for the type 3, you imagine the sentence in your if clause happened back then, in the past. Here we have the sentence. Your teacher says to you, if you submitted your work on time, you would get B at least. It means that your teacher has already told you before that the due of the assignment was on May 16th, but you submit your work on May 17th. At the moment your teacher is speaking to you, it is May 17th, so your teacher is imagining if you submitted yesterday, the day before, it means it's still possible for you to at least get B. But then the fact is you do not submit it on time. So you don't know what's your score. Your teacher also don't know because she or he hasn't corrected your work. Meanwhile, for type 3, at the moment your teacher is speaking with you, maybe it is the time when you get your study report. Maybe it's on June 28th, and your teacher says, if you had submitted your work on time, you would have got B. It means that your teacher is imagining if in the past you submit your work, you would get B. But then the reality may be on your student's report, you got C. Other than for imagining something in the present, conditional type 2 can also be used when you are trying to suggest something for your friend, or maybe you want to suggest something for others. Usually, the typical sentence used is, if I were you, I would. Maybe your friends have ever told you that she or he maybe had some kind of problem, and you might come up with a suggestion. Here is the context. I am your friend, and you listen to my story. Hey yo, I broke up with my girlfriend. I saw her cheating last night. And then you want to suggest something to her. You might say, if I were you, bro, I would prove her that I could get other better girls. Well, that's all, I think, the basic of conditional sentence. For the zero conditional, you might just watch the explanation that I attached from the English video. And if you had some problems understanding the type 1, type 2, and also type 3, you can just comment down below, ask me. And I already prepared some module and task for you to practice the conditional sentence type 1, type 2, and type 3. I think that's all for this video. The other video, I would just discuss the other topic to prepare our examination. Thank you guys.